Plant Hunter Guy podcast.
Welcome to episode 3 of the Plant Hunter Guy podcast. I'm really happy today to be joined by Dee Blick. I've known her for a very long time. She's a master marketeer and an award-winning author. Got some of her books here. So I met Dee when I was 23, 24, and I was actually at the process of attempting to row across the Indian Ocean. I had to raise over £100,000. So the first place was to go to some networking events, and that's where I met Dee. And it was fabulous because using her books, it helped me, without very much money, to raise over £100,000, and about £15,000 that went to charity. So firstly, thank you, Dee, and it's been an amazing relationship so far. We've obviously also been working together through Architecture Plants too. You've been supporting our marketing function. So yeah, welcome. Do you mind letting us know a bit more about yourself and how you got into marketing from sort of early stages really?
Wow, yeah, I mean, I always start with my age, then work back. So I'm 63 and I started out in marketing at the age of 22. So it's all I've ever known as a career, and I think I got my stripes working for big businesses with huge marketing budgets, and I was like 23 in charge of sort of 6-7 figure marketing budgets. Then, like anything, I had my 2 boys, decided that the glamorous marketing career in Croydon and London was too much, and so I started my own business, and I've stuck at that ever since. And then along the way, I've written, I think I'm on my book number 6 now.
Amazing, well done.
So it's just been an amazing career that has given back to me, and I truly still love it now. Probably love it more now I've got that confidence than when I started out and I was like rabbit in the headlights, desperately wanting to absorb everything, to learn as much as I could and feeling really unworthy and all the rest of it. And thankfully today I'm kind of comfortable in my own skin.
That's interesting. So when you started out, is that a big change from when you started out, that you feel that way? Has that had a big impact on, I suppose, your work and how you impact and help businesses?
It's had a huge impact on me at the start. I had enormous imposter syndrome. It was a big selection process, and it got whittled down to me and 2 others, and we all got offered a job out of hundreds. And I'd had, from being a small girl, this fear of failure, then imposter syndrome. And it was a bit like a black dog, that it dogged me for many years. And I look back on it now, and I was chatting to somebody on another podcast the other day about what would I like to change about my earlier career. I so wished I'd had a mentor, somebody that could just put an arm around me and say, you know what, Dee, you're good enough, you will learn. Just as you are now, raw and ready for it is more than enough. But I think, I talk about this even in my latest book about fear of failure, that until we start talking about it, we don't realise how many people do have fear of failure or imposter syndrome. Yeah. And I had it in spades as a young girl for years.
How did you, so you said you would like to mentor. Do you think that that's more accessible, having mentorships now, and I suppose people talking about these kind of issues?
I think it's a great question, that it's all about your mental health, isn't it? And when I look back to me as a young girl starting out in the 80s, you just didn't have mentors. In fact, if anything, you were part of the tough love brigade where people would critique you. I can remember vividly being critiqued whilst I was doing a presentation, and one of the senior managers immediately gave the feedback in front of everybody. I still remember it now. He said, oh, you brush your hair back too much, you rush what you're saying. And I was absolutely destroyed. And I think now, with this focus on nurturing positive mental health, I think it's wonderful that mentorship is recognised as being something that's really important, not just for people that are flourishing and enabling them to get to the next step, but also in people that are struggling, because the biggest barrier to being able to be your actual magnificent self is when you're cloaked in fear. You start to dismantle that fear, and suddenly the world becomes a brighter and bigger place, and you become confident, kind of with that unshakable conviction that you are good enough to take on the task that before fear was just basically smacking down in front of you.
It's really interesting because when I met you, I said this earlier, I was, I think 23, something like that, and so I was at a really impressionable part of my career or my development, and it was a massive thing to be trying to attempt this row. But beforehand, before we could even get onto the ocean, it was all about raising money and profile raising. So that moment we met, you acted as a mentor to me in that capacity, as did others that I actually met that evening and other networking events. So I think I was lucky that I found people on my journey, but I think that's just because that more people are open to it now. It feels like that idea of supporting people is quite an important part of everyone's career now.
Yeah.
It sounds like it wasn't so much when you were starting out. So.
No, it wasn't, and I think it's great. But also we have to be, as you were when you were starting out, we have to be open to new things, to new opportunities and to change. Because again, a big barrier to not realising our talents is it's an unwillingness to change that's born of fear. And fear says, oh, you can't do this, you can't change. Stay in your lane, play it safe. And it's why in my latest book I've made a really big thing. There's a whole chapter on fear of failure. Because you can have all the marketing spangles and sparkles in the world, all the most amazing things to advance your cause. But if there's a voice in you that's saying to you, you're not worthy, you're not talented enough, you're not bright enough, you're not ambitious enough, then it doesn't matter, that will all fall by the wayside. And so I'm almost on a mission now to talk more about this than ever, because marketing's been a super kind career to me. It's really nurtured and supported me. So now I'm on this crusade where I'm actually going out and about and saying, you know what, if you get a bit of fear, if you've got imposter syndrome, A, you're not alone, B, it's often the hallmark of somebody truly talented, C, start talking about it and do something about it. So it will open the door, it will unlock your talents.
This is the book that Dee's referring to, so we'll put some links below. It's fabulous. This is only just because I'm really early days, isn't it? Like the first couple of weeks of it.
It came out last week, and I'm thrilled that you're a case study in the book, because I wanted to showcase really talented businesses that I have worked with that have been unafraid, as you were. You were unafraid to effect positive change, even for you as an individual to really step into that space for public speaking. And so it's been great for me, actually, within the book, to be showcasing the great people that I've worked with over the years, because every client always gives back. It's not a relationship where you take and I give. It really is, reciprocity is at the heart of a great client relationship. And so having you guys in that book, I just loved it. And Jason as well, being able to talk about how we worked together, because both you and Jason, you removed certain barriers to be able to be open to the idea of effecting change within the business. Yeah, it's really interesting because we don't, as a company, we don't tend to we do it a lot in-house. And I think you're absolutely right that there was a point where I had, certainly Jason and I, we had to go, we need some additional outside support. Okay, I know who it is, it's Dee, but we've sort of since then I've used skills outside a bit more, so it gave us the confidence to do that. But you're right, you have, in order for that to be successful, you've got to really open up about what the problem is. And initially, I'm not sure when we first came to you a year ago, I don't think we really knew exactly what our problem was. You know, we knew we wanted to improve our in-house skills, and at that point, raising exposure of our brand. And of course, since then, we've been on the BBC, and I did that talk at Chester Cathedral. Yeah. And that's down to those bits of confidence you instilled in us, basically, which is great. So is that sort of lessons we can learn from the book if the readers get involved? I hope so. I mean, it's almost like 40 years of my marketing experience building my own personal brand, because I'm a great believer that don't trust a marketer who A, can't get clients, and B, is not working on building an authentic and magnetic profile. You've really got to live your brand 100% when you're a marketer. And I think with the book, I just wanted to distill this 40 years of being a marketer, but also you're in there as an entrepreneur. We've even got your talk that you gave. Was it Chichester Cathedral?
Yeah.
I always find it hard to say I said Chichester and everybody laughs at me. But you're in there as an example. I remember the conversation we had, and I remember vividly saying to you, Guy, we've really got to build your profile as a speaker because you've got all this natural energy. You're a very good communicator. So let's ensure that more people are open to that. And I've still got the email when you wrote back and said, I'm defo interested in doing this. You know, and it's great. And so it's almost like, in my case here, I was a bit of a facilitator, that I sowed seeds with you because it was within you. And often all we need is a good person that we trust to say, have you ever thought of doing this? And it kind of ignites that thought. And in your mind, I think we sowed that seed and you were up for it. And I think going back to when you came for me, came to me is most businesses that come to me, they've got an itch that needs scratching.
Yeah.
And it's inevitably that they can see that in your case, you had a really successful business, but your own internal marketing had taken you so far, and you knew that you wanted more, but you were not quite sure what more meant. And so I think at the time you were looking at PR and various other initiatives. And I think we had a marketing MOT, and it was clear to me you'd got all the talent in-house, you'd got all the amazing stories in-house, you've got this beautiful brand that you've built. It was it was fantastic. You'd actually designed our garden, so I'd experienced your brand. And therefore I was in that position of being able to say to you quite unequivocally, this is the path I think you need to follow. And it was a combo, wasn't it, of PR, which you and Jason have just blown my socks off with what you've achieved. So it was great PR, and it was really harnessing everybody in the business to realise their talents, from the designers, getting them a bit more savvy on selling, to the guys and gals in the office, and to you as the figurehead of the business. It was like you were not this resource that was kept under wraps. You were very much out there, and all we did was really point you at opportunities. So I look at you being on the BBC. I remember us having a conversation that I said, I think you should have your own gardening show. But I remember us talking about you getting yourself out there in a much more public manner, and rather than run away from it, you ran straight into it, which was fantastic. Look where it's taken you.
It's just being open. So if there's someone listening who maybe thinks, oh, should I buy this? Why would they want to buy something? What's the audience you're, I suppose, trying to go for?
Well, I think there are probably two audiences. There's students of marketing, because I know I'm in talks at the minute for the book to be syllabus reading at a university that's got a module on personal branding. But fundamentally, it's aimed at the person in the business. It could be invariably the founder, but it could be a key person in the business, whether it's the financial officer, whatever the role is. If they assume an important role in that business and they realise that they need to be building their own personal brand so it meshes in better with the business brand, then my book is aimed at them. It's like 15 quid on Amazon. And I'm not interested in selling a system in the book. I don't want readers then messaging me saying, can I work with you? Because I'm not taking on clients. I'm not selling a membership system. I just want people buying that book because it will empower them to build their personal brand based on authenticity, and not on this mistaken belief that they have to be larger than life in order to build this personal brand. You can be very introverted and build your personal brand. And I guess what I'm doing is I'm taking them step by step through the process that I've taken entrepreneurs like you through, and others that required a lot more help. You didn't require a lot of help, but an entrepreneur where I've started with them at the very beginning in terms of how we build their brand. And I've shared my journey as well. And so, as with all my books, because I'm a writer as well as a marketer, I take a great deal of pride in my writing. So I write with a very conversational style. And I'm just hoping that, given we're in this era of AI, where everybody's thinking, what the hell is going on with brands? We're getting so much of the same voice appropriated across so many different brands, that there's never been a more important time for key people within a business to stand out for all the right reasons. And I guess that's where my book will take them.
You've covered loads of stuff in that last bit. AI was something that was nice, but I think you've covered it really, which is just get writing yourself, really. It's something you're really passionate about. But the biggest skill I think you have, not just in when you're speaking to individuals, but is when you're in your writing style through all of your books, is you manage to take something quite complicated or that may take a bit of time to understand, and you break it down really, really clearly.
Yeah.
Where did you, I suppose, go from working in marketing like you described to then possibly did you then go to become an author straight away, or how did that transition happen for you?
Oh, that's a great question. I love that. There's a phrase, isn't there? If you cannot explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. And I think I started out life as a writer. From the age of 5, I just used to write. Mum was saying that she'd find little pads full of scribbles. From the age of 5, I was besotted with writing, with telling stories. And my dad used to say, RD always has to have the last word. How right he was. So I tumbled into marketing as a career because I saw it as an opportunity to write and to understand about the nuances of marketing and how it moves somebody from don't understand who the clue you are to fully paid up customer and loving you. So I've always been this mongrel mix of writer and marketer, and the two work beautifully together. But the books started when one of my clients who was at the book launch last week, Mike Schlupp, he retained me 20 years ago. And he said, you should write a book, Dee, because I've been winning all these awards for my writing. And the voice of fear came back and said, yeah, but what if you get dreadful reviews? What if nobody reads it? And I just thought, well, just do it anyway. And that's how I got the book writing bug. But fundamentally, the two feed one another. So if you know from my books and from using you as a case study that it's great I can write about actual experience and expertise that's born of practicalities from working with businesses like architectural plans. Because if I'm just talking about principles and theories, how can you trust my book? How can you trust that I'm saying, go for it? This is what Guy did. This is what Jason did with the PR. This is what Mike did and all the other clients that I've spoken about. So I've been blessed to have amazing clients over 40 years, and they provided the ballast for my books. I've got all my writing, so I spend forever on the writing. It's got to be conversational and friendly, but it's got to be underpinned by real life marketing case studies. Otherwise, it's a house built on sand.
Yeah, for me, that was the most powerful thing from the time when I was doing The Road. This was the book, I think 2008, around there. So this book for me, which is the Powerful Marketing on a Shoestring, again, we'll put this below in the notes. That was really powerful, and I then ended up running a social enterprise in London, and I brought the team this, and so they mean a lot to me. But the book launch was last week for You're the Best. And one thing that came out that I just thought was really powerful is one of the chaps stood up who's, big brand here we're talking about.
DPD.
Yeah, DPD. And he made the point that he bought this book for every one of his team. And he, essentially told us all how incredible the sales increase was as a result. I mean, dramatic change in terms of sales numbers. So that must have made you feel incredibly proud. And when you started or wanted to become an author, I know that wasn't necessarily the only one, but did that book, that must feel quite amazing that it was making that much change, basically?
Well, part of me, again, I couldn't believe it. I think when this is John Acton he was the Chief Executive Officer of DPD. And even when he came to my home, he flew in from France. I thought he'd pootle down from London. And I was sitting in my lounge, absolutely gobsmacked, when he was talking about this book and saying how all the team had got it. And so it was a bit of a wow moment for me. And I think, as any author will tell you, you need lots of hyacinths for your soul. So having the likes of John saying that then fueled the second book, which changed my life. It sounds quite dramatic, but it really did change my life. Malcolm, my husband, gave up his job. It got translated into Chinese. Suddenly I became around the world. People wanted me to speak at their events, and I sold tens of thousands of books. And it stemmed from that one little book there, which then, I always say the L plates were on that cover. It was the second one, which was the ultimate small business marketing book, that was the game changer that changed my life. But every author needs that first book to get their rung on the ladder. And so the fact that John came last week and shared that, and I was sitting there thinking, are you in the right book launch, mate? I really was thinking, have you got this right? Then the fact that he told me beforehand, and he's on the cover of You're the Best, he gave me this amazing quote. And a big part of me, when he said I'd transformed the capabilities of their European teams, wanted to write to him and say, are you sure? Yeah. Which I know is daft. But the thing about being a writer is you can never get too big an ego, because there's always somebody in the wings with a 1-star review that's going to chop your legs out from underneath you and give you what for. So just when you're feeling you're fluffing your feathers and feeling quite amazing about your prowess, it's there in the shadows, that 1-star review.
It's I think when you're putting yourself out there in any way, there's always that risk, isn't there? And you've mentioned that so many times today about that idea of not still having confidence in yourself. What is there anything particular thing that happened in your life where you've changed that viewpoint, where you now feel more confident? Is it as you get older? Is it about the particular book you've written or a customer you've met?
I love that. I love that question. And there's no one single answer. Well, perhaps a deep, meaningful answer is I stopped drinking alcohol. I make no secret I'm a recovering addict with 26 years of sobriety. Giving up drink was the key that turned in the door, because then I was able to see myself with so much clarity and do the working on myself and being a lot kinder to myself. So getting clean and sober has been massive for me. Then in the years that have followed, whenever I get that voice of you're not good enough or are you sure you're that successful, I have to counter it with, well, let's just look at reality. So when I'm looking at book sales, well, am I really that good an author? Well, let's just look at the thousands of readers worldwide, of which I've had hundreds have written to me. And I've had the most amazing emails I remember one that stood out from a woman who said that she was going to give up her business and that my book, it was the ultimate small business marketing book, that my book changed everything for her and she'd sort of fallen back in love with her business again. And I've got so many amazing stories like that, and I just think, well, that's not made up, that's real life. So I have to always think what's fact and what's fiction. Fiction's in my head and the fact is the reality.
It's funny, I was with the accountant last week. We have an annual meeting and it's, I love a spreadsheet, but it's so black and white. You're looking at just facts and figures, but actually it allows you to kind of just, the numbers, whereas what you're talking here about is something that's so much more, it's in your head, isn't it?
Yes.
And it's about changing that, really.
Absolutely. And I think we all have it, don't we? I don't think I'm not in a group of one to be, but it's more, let's just talk about it more. Because when I do talk to people, and often the reactions, I never thought you'd be like that, because people make an assumption of you based on you being outgoing and gregarious and you have the symbols of success. But I think just honestly talking one human to another, there is nothing more powerful in building that connection.
I had to do this talk recently, as I said to you, and I've done quite a few talks in my time, but I found that particularly sort of nerve-wracking, and I definitely was going through those feelings of, am I going to do a good job and how's this going to go? Whereas being on the camera and doing our stuff for YouTube, and I don't really have a problem with it.
Yeah.
I know lots of people out there have a fear of public speaking. It's quite a thing for a lot of people. So you've again touched on that's been a thing for you too. Any good sort of tips for anyone out there who's maybe going through those feelings? Maybe one or two tips that you'd recommend for someone going through those feelings?
I think probably join a group. There are like local Toastmaster groups, and practice and feed your soul with positive talk all the way through. I've often learned, there's a whole chapter in You're the Best about, I share my public speaking tips and say these are not born from a Toastmasters group, they're just born through experience. So much as if we feed ourselves crap, that's what we're going to get. If we feed ourselves positive affirmations, I'm more than good enough, give yourself permission to succeed, as well as, I used to always give myself permission to fail, but giving yourself permission to succeed. I mean, I'll flip it back on you. When you were standing at that lectern, did you find that when you started speaking, did you go into a different space? How did you...
So I don't really like planning things. I like to let it go, and just go for it. So for me, the whole idea of having to pre-plan something and be quite structured is quite a challenge. The biggest thing actually on that particular day I've learned, and I'm using it all the time, is often people on those occasions say, are you nervous? I've done lots of best man speeches as well, and they always meet you just at the wrong time. And do you feel nervous? Yeah. Well, I definitely do now. Thanks a lot. And so someone said to me, you're not nervous, you're excited.
Yes.
And honestly, it sounds ridiculous, but all day, from the moment I wake up, I'm not nervous, I'm excited.
I love that.
And it was absolutely amazing advice. And I really used it. So just before I went up on stage, to talk, it was quite a big occasion. Yeah. And I just thought about that, had a deep breath and thought, I'm pretty lucky to be lucky to be doing this. Let's enjoy it. And don't get me wrong, I still, wasn't perfect, and I've got lots to learn, but actually I did enjoy it and I did feel excited about it. So you know that was quite good.
You don't have to be. I've been invited to do a TED talk, probably in March or April, and I love that advice about excited, because everybody's how do you feel about it? Brilliant, it's great. Yeah, I feel fabulous. I feel fabulous. You know, it's and it will be fine. I think our nerves beforehand are just part of the fact that we care. And then it's almost like when you start speaking, something magical happens, and you switch from being petrified, rabbit in the headlights, to hello world, I've arrived. And
I sometimes when I've spoken to people, and again, maybe it's a bit of bravado, but when I've spoken to people before who are almost too confident and don't have any nerves, I've often come away from hearing them speak and haven't been that engaged with them, because it's almost too licked, you know.
Too slick.
Yeah, and I like, so I think being honest and open about how you feel, and that tends to come across quite well actually, and
I agree.
People pick up on it. So is there anything else about, you know, your books you'd like to say? Is there anything in particular, like maybe a couple of tips, if someone hasn't heard of you or they haven't read your book, that you go, this is like the number one tip? Anything you can?
I think be open. My biggest tip is, if you want to be successful at marketing in your business and building your brand, be willing to be open to change and to explore what's holding you back. Because once you start exploring what's holding you back, it's the key in the door that then opens you up to. So there are loads of tips in that book. There's a full program of what you can do, but it starts with you being open to change. And I think curiosity and willing to explore, it's all part of the same thing, isn't it? Like you were when we started working together. You came to me open to change, you were curious, you were willing to explore. And if you look at what this has taken you in terms of your business success, it's all built on that, isn't it? Yeah. As well as delivering a fabulous product, but always being that open to change and that curiosity. It definitely doesn't kill the cat. No,
yeah, I completely agree. It's just that constant idea of wanting to develop and improve, and being brave enough to know that we're a team of nearly 40 people here, and every single role, everyone's trying to push themselves, and that's kind of really nice culture to set. So it has to be throughout. That comes from you, Guy.
I always say that the leader in a business is absolutely crucial. So that all stems from you, the fact that the people that work with you, they love you, they admire you, and you're a great role model for them. And that's really what we ask of our leaders. We don't ask for perfection. We ask for people that are relatable, that we can admire, that we can aspire to be like, and fundamentally that we believe has got our best interests at heart, which is what you deliver in spades.
Thank you.
I should be interviewing you for this podcast.
They'll have to cut this bit out.
Radio show.
We'll cut this bit out. No. So when we first met, as I said, we're going back to that. We met at a networking event. It was in Horsham, where I'm from. I remember it very clearly. You've always felt to me as someone who's local business. I know you've worked with bigger businesses, but local business is really important to you, and the community is. So we were very lucky to go to Brilliant and Bold, and I was there, and we were one of the sponsors in September. It was an amazing event. What's that about? Why did you do Brilliant and Bold?
Well, I did Brilliant and Bold. It was to raise funds for a charity, a local charity that you were fabulous in supporting, and that's 10 Little Toes Baby Bank. So what I wanted to do was use my marketing know-how to arrange a conference that then all the money would go to 10 Little Toes. Because I was trying to think, well, as a businesswoman, what can I do? What's my skill set? And one of my skill sets is pulling people together and putting on great events.
And it was a great event, wasn't it?
It was lovely, yeah. And I think we had you there doing some speaking as well, and you're speaking at my next event as well, which is a different animal, but it's still the same principle of bringing local businesses together to learn for a small amount of money. And what's amazing in our area is, sometimes it can be a bit pejorative saying local business. Actually, in our area, there's businesses of all sizes, different makers. It could be large businesses that are doing international business. There's really a big mix, isn't there? And that's what I think was really exciting about that room. It just felt very kind of active, very energetic. Everyone was really open. So Brand and Deliver, that's the next one, and that's January. That's January, and you're a speaker at that. I'm not letting you go anywhere. Once I get my teeth into a decent speaker, that's it. They're coming in my hand luggage wherever I go. And are there any spaces left there? Is it? No, it's sold out within 3 weeks, and I've had so many people, but we can't overfill the venue because then there isn't space for networking.
Yeah.
But it won't be the last one, there'll be more. I'm
Okay,
not sure yet.
So maybe we'll put some details down about where they can find out about it in the future. Maybe
you can connect with me on LinkedIn or email me, and then I'm going to do stuff in the autumn that I haven't put the sort of final flourishes to it, but there will be other events, all at a very low entry price, so that small businesses don't feel they've got to take out a bank loan to listen to some motivational speakers. Yeah,
because it's really important, because especially when you're starting out, that initial couple of years, any cost is, and it's also the time out of the business, isn't it? But I know for a fact that those kind of events are really important. I find I learned so much from that day. So yeah, it was a great thing. So again, I think some people don't really like even the word business networking and the idea. So what would you say is again a good little tip when you're going to an event like that in order to make the most out of it as maybe a small business owner?
I think there's two things. One is go and be prepared to ask questions and listen, so you're not broadcasting. And two, be prepared to paint your picture in the most positive light. If you go there just broadcasting, it's flipping boring. We've all been on the receiving end of somebody who gives you a monologue for 5 minutes. You look expectantly at them for them to say, and what do you do? And off they toot, leave you standing there feeling really hacked off. So I think that we have to be willing to cultivate and stoke a conversation, because in the void of the asking, flipping loads of questions and not listening, relationships can fall. But if we go with the willingness to learn about the other person and to share and to have a genuine conversation, you really can find those rubies in the rubble.
Now, we were introduced to an HR consultant who we were desperately looking for at that last event, and we've just taken her on, and she's been absolutely amazing so far. So for us, it was that one contact we met was really, really fantastic.
That's brilliant.
So brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us on the Plant Hunter Guide podcast. And we'll put all of the information below, especially the books that we've mentioned and rushed through. Thank you so much for watching episode 3. You can find out about it all through YouTube, on Spotify, or of course through our Instagram channel. Thank you so much.
The Plant Hunter Guy podcast.